Hello, dear listeners. I'm back. I took a little break speaking in English here with you, sharing my developments, my processes. So I had my in-laws came to visit, and it was a beautiful kind of 5-day experience to reconnect. Reconnect in person. Obviously, we were on the phone throughout this time, and we were sharing and expressing and understanding and supporting and being there for each other, but nothing like to be in person. I was really looking forward to that visit. And as much as I wanted to be there for them, I think mostly they were there for me, and I'm so grateful. We went together to the gravesite. For me, it was the first time after the burial. I thought like it would mean like very little to me for some reason. I felt like Efraim was a man of nature, man of people, and just to sit in the cemetery and connect, I felt like I would never built any connection there. But when I did come there with my parents-in-law, obviously I had a breakthrough, and I just like couldn't stop crying, and they made a sandwich out of me. They hugged me and they held me in a way. But I just want to share a few ideas that came up, and including cemetery and including kind of this whole monument idea and this whole concept of not visiting as much as people do, and why shouldn't we and why should we, etc., etc. I know it's a little bit not exciting kind of recordings that I make here, but I feel whatever processes I go through and whatever transformations I go through, it would definitely give something to people that listen, whether it's about the past experiences or some ideas that you could take into your present and take it home with you, so to speak, right? A relationship with in-laws, as much as we kind of neglect and don't appreciate, in some cultures, those are your parents. Some cultures treat in-laws just exactly like your mom and your dad. And some cultures treat in-laws like an extension of your partner's family. And I had 2 different setups of in-laws throughout my life. And interestingly, I also remembered my previous in-laws when those were visiting just 5 days ago. And I remember when we got divorced with my first husband. The time has passed and I moved to Florida, and I had this deep urge to write to them the email stating that I was grateful for everything, and I'm grateful for 6 grandchildren, and I'm grateful to be part of the karmic tribe, so to speak, and I'm grateful for their son that they raised, that was my husband. And I kind of wrote this letter. I don't know if they listen to those recordings or they don't, and they responded. I think my father-in-law, ex-father-in-law responded very sweetly, very kindly. And I also said to them that now that I'm not married and I am available if they need me in any form or shape, I'm here to help, and in a way allowed them to have like a normal conversation. Not every divorce and separation has to be cutting kind of off any and all connection with your previous family that you invested so much and gave all you had at a certain point of your life. There's some of your energy there, and some of your energy mixed with their energy, and it's important to kind of love and appreciate. And it's also important to withdraw your energies, right? We spoke a lot about that. So with this set of in-laws, interestingly, I met them in person before even I met Efraim in person. Efraim was in Israel. We were corresponding over the phone and Skype at that time, and whatever other platforms. And there was a time that I visited his sister, I think, in Boston, and I came to his parents' house and we met and we connected. And of course, there was so like unprepared. We were not called a date. It wasn't like I came to meet my future parents-in-law. That was not the announcement. It was mostly friendship that developed in 3 years back then. No, 2 years. And we met, and I spoke highly about Efraim, and I said that he's a high professional, he could help a lot of people, and I'm eager to help him out, to let the world know about him, etc., etc. So basically we were connecting. And I think all this projection that I like to speak about, I speak a lot about projection lately, how we live our life and we build relationship and we invest in the relationship and we commit to relationship, and we kind of apart from relationship feeling sorry, feeling loss and missing someone and wanting to hold on to someone, etc., etc. But really on a deeper consciousness, much more kind of developed consciousness, there is a point of us that is able to hold this concept that I'm going to share with you now. And some of our parts are rejecting this concept and don't want to associate with this concept. It's too aloof and too distant and too unfamiliar in a way, right? Much higher frequencies of us sees us as only here alone. And we are alone initially, and we are alone throughout our life here. But that loneliness, it's extremely hard for a person part of us, a human part of us, to kind of hold on to. We want to believe that we are part of, we are together with, we are in love with, we are loved by, we exchange warm feelings, we exchange deep connection, right? And that part of us is really, really kind of clingy on that level. And a lot of relationship is built based on that concept. A lot of relationships are held and mature and develop based on that. We are together, we're here for together, we have each other, we are one, we are committed, we will pull together, we will pull it together, we will come out of it together, or we will build something together, etc. But really, if for at least 5 minutes a day, we would just like entertain or live through this concept that I'm going to suggest right now, maybe it will help you to declutter or not to be overly attached or overly anticipating certain relationship that those of us that want to kind of build better or want to create from scratch or want to develop certain insight in a certain relationship. So the idea that I'm going to offer again, it's not for any and every person. It's something that you might want to entertain occasionally. And I'm going to connect it with the in-laws and my husband dying and us being in love and connected and living together for 6 years and now kind of loving each other from different worlds. So I just want to explain something. So when we come into this world, there are different people, 100%, coming from different universes. Just like we came from our universe, there are other people coming from their universes with their insights, their frequencies, their energies, their passion, their speed, their specific kind of auras and colors and whatever else is about them, right? But truly, we don't get that deep. As deep as we think we are in a relationship, that mostly means that that person that you're with is able to reflect back to you a lot of your parts, and you're so grateful about it, and you're in love with that person because of that, and you like that person, and you hold on to the person, and you call that person a friend. But truly, it's a search for yourself. So I'll explain something. So you are this complete universe. You have expression and memory of that. And when we come here, we kind of crash into small pieces, right? And there's a insight to that, there's a wisdom to that, and there's certain kind of goal to that. And when we come here, we have one and only urge to become that wholesome being that once upon a time I remember myself being. That's what happens during the meditations and quiet time, and when we are super resourceful and super connected and super healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically. That urge comes up. I really want to reclaim all those parts back. But the question is, we cannot see them in us, and the only way to see them is if those parts from the higher part of me would be pinned on someone else, and that someone else is going to hold it for me, and I will see it and I'll remember it and I'll get excited. That's called falling in love, right? I'll get excited, I'll get an urge to go towards it, to come close to it, and I will want it. Especially those parts that you cannot recollect in yourself. Let's say you were brought up in a culture very conservative, very reserved, very kind of collected. Don't express yourself, don't show up too much, you don't say too much of yourself. Answer the questions only if people ask specifically those questions. Don't be too bubbly, don't be too loose. Let's say that's your pattern. But you remember there's an element of freedom and this carelessness that also defines you, that also kind of gives the flavor and the colors to wholesome you. And you starving for it, you really want it. And you meet a partner, sure enough, it's an opposite kind of sex partner. And this partner expresses utmost freedom. Tells you stories about himself, how free he was, how free-spirited he was throughout his life. And I'm specifically talking about myself right now, and Efraim, right? So, just to tell you the story about Efraim, that about his college and about, thank you so much, my love, about his school life, college life, friendship life. Like a lot of people reach out, and his parents brought enormous stories to share, that a whole year in California, where Efraim used to travel and live and was visiting ashrams. That's when he burned his passport. He did not want to have any documents to kind of hold him hostage for, and like, oh, what if I'll lose a passport? What if I'm not gonna have? What if it's outdated? Maybe I need to renew, like all this stress in a way. So here we have this Efraim traveling. I think he was maybe 30 or almost 30 or something around there, or just over 30. And he's going through this course that he was taking to become a massage therapist. And throughout that year of doing that course, he's living under the tree. And this is Efraim, right? Those that knew Efraim closely, I'm sure you kind of smell and sense that flavor of freedom when he was speaking, and when he was leading a conversation, and when he was dealing with people, and when he was expressing his opinion, etc., etc. So falling in love, I'm bringing this example so you'll understand what it means in a partnership, in any relationship, what you're truly there for. You're truly there for, I was there obviously for a lot of different things. And he was next to me also for different things that he needed to complete himself through me, and I needed to complete myself through him. And really, it's a search of yourself. As not romantic as this could sound to many of us, we want this to be like an ultimate love, and falling in love, and wanting to just like express that partnership love, blah, blah, blah. But really, you don't know anything about that person until all the things, all the projections that you were desperate for, or deadly looking for, or truly wanted to inquire, that person is going to have. That's why they say opposites attract, because what you don't have, usually he has very much expressed, and what he doesn't have, you usually have very much developed and expressed. So this is a perfect couple, right? But really, this is a search. You don't know each other yet. You have those shirts that you remember belong to you hanging on him, and he's kind enough to hold it for you, and you're kind enough to hold it for him, whatever he was looking for. And this is the time when they identify. That's falling in love. Wow, right? That's a wow feeling. And you identify that he got it, and he got it very developed, and he has it packed with information and tools, and I definitely could integrate it. And the joy that you have a place where you could find and integrate and bring back home and reclaim and make it yours, that part that you lost or didn't know you had, that joy is translated into human language as falling in love. So far, is it romantic enough or not? Let's hear those that listen. And there are a lot of those parts, and it could be deeper, it could be lighter, it could be completely unrelated. And a smart partnership, when you understand and you appreciate that really he doesn't need to hold those things for you. It's his life. Like freedom was his life. And like when we were already thinking that we probably will get married, I remember it was 2018 when he came to visit Florida, and we were practically like every night seeing each other, which was rare. And he says to me, you know, throughout my life, I got so sick of freedom. I want to be bound into a family, into a relationship, into family life, into commitment and responsibilities of just being there for wife, being there for kids. And I was a complete opposite of that. Since 18, even before that, I was in the system. And before that, I was in a home system. I was a daughter that needed to obey, behave, listen, come home at a certain time. Then I came into a religious system where there is a bunch of girls, and there's rules and regulations, and there's restrictions, and there's certain kind of presentation of you has to be presented. And not only that, and I became shortly after a madricha, where I had to hold a space for girls, and I used to teach and teach one-on-one, and it was a huge task. Anything but freedom, that's for sure. I mean, you could call it freedom because you were outside your home, but that was like an extension of home. And of course, shortly after, I got married, after 4 dates with a guy that I met only 4 weeks ago. And there was this urge to have kids, and as soon as possible. And we did, and we moved out, and we took a community to serve for, and we used to invite a lot of students over, and I used to teach. And that continued for close to 18 years. And I was kind of on a run to rediscover how am I without all that? Where am I in all that? Like, who am I? How do I feel? Where is my freedom? What does that mean to be free? And of course, I had the responsibility of 6 children, but at the same time, just to separate yourself from everything else at most you can. And I was completely on a separate search. What he done and got sick of, I was now beginning to look for, right? And that's just one element. So in any relationship that we come close to, and those relationships that are called deep and connected and loving and insightful, that means that there is a lot of exchange. There is a lot of, he has something you need and you want it. You have something that he always wanted, and I did have this like unbreakable, kind of like non-stop developed commitment, family, religion, duty, teaching, leading, holding the space for those that need, being there, like mothering, nurturing, etc., etc. So I had that, right? And it's so interesting that not only in a romantic relationship you have that everywhere. As much as I understood at a certain point that philosophy and religion that I taught, I kind of was ready to give up and to give it over to those that already beautifully teaching it. And I was ready to go into therapy and to lead and to develop and to mature through that and develop myself, right? And when I started doing that, I met my new set of in-laws, and the father-in-law is a therapist. He's one of the 10 top psychologists in Massachusetts. He's one of the top, basically. And he's still today mentoring and teaching. And the insights that I received from him from day one, it's just unbelievable. The ability to listen, ability to follow, ability to just be present, not jump with conclusions, just listen till the end. Even after a person asks the question, not answer. Let them unpack another level and another level. And that's what I was in the middle of inquiring and developing and maturing into. And I received, so to speak, someone that I could integrate it from, right? And it always like that. It's just so beautiful to see that we get what we truly want to become in the near future. And we get those set of people surround us that we complete ourselves through them. And believe it or not, you take exactly what you wanted and what you needed and how much you needed, and then relationship end. And yes, on a human level, oh, there's a divorce, or there's a separation, oh, they're not vibing as they used to, oh, somebody died. To us it looks like abrupt and it shouldn't happen, but there's other parts that we also want to complete ourselves through. So certain relationship come to the end and we kind of move on, right? As insensitive as this could sound. But the point that I wanted to bring here, that I've been kind of processing myself, and obviously it's not for everyone to process together with me. When the relationship ends and you conclude them, and I say that a lot, there is a grief period that everyone has to go through, whether you lose, I don't know, a toothpick that was important to you, or you lose a whole human being, or you lose a deep relationship or a deep connection. Grief period is important, and if we brush it off, if we never pay attention, if we kind of repress it by saying, oh, you shouldn't be depressed, you never be depressed, just go, do. I recorded this in a Russian recent video, but I'll just repeat here again. It comes and bites you later. The grief period is shock. You go in a deep shock, and then you live through it, and you just say, my body is right now in shock, and it's not able to process, understand, and like develop and come to conclusions and be all balanced. No, there is a shock period, and you allow yourself to just be accepted that you are in shock for a day or two, just full validation of that state of being. Then there is bargaining, when you say, oh, if he could have done therapy, or if she could have done therapy, we would have saved this marriage. If he would have been at least normal about this and that, and or she could have been a little bit more religious, or if she was more loving, or he looked after himself, he never took care of himself, blah, blah, blah. That's called bargaining, right? And you could repress it by saying, stop bargaining, it's all done and finished with. There is no need for those repetitive thoughts to come and attack you. Stop doing that, like an inner voice, or your friend, or somebody suggested, let's just go watch a movie instead. So that's repressing, right? And that's bargaining, that repetitive thoughts will keep on coming back. And like you will call it compulsive later on in life, but they're not compulsively coming back. They just want you full validation and full acceptance. Just, yeah, I'm in that state. I accept myself fully. I'm not going to change myself during these 2 days. I'm just going to allow those thoughts to be there. I'm not going to react to them. I'm just accepting myself being like that, thinking like that, feeling like that. And you accept yourself like that. And next is aggression, where you feel like you want to kill that person that left you or betrayed you or promised something and didn't come through, and blah, blah, blah. And that aggression also you need to accept as a state of being. This is what I'm feeling now. Just closing your eyes. I'm feeling angry. I feel like I want to kill that person. I accept that. I want to give my full validation to that feeling. This is how my mind processing grief. It's absolutely normal. There's nothing wrong with it. And you allow yourself to just be in that. It's like when you have a fever, you write an email, you answer the phone, you pick up your mail, you warm water for your hot drink. You do everything in a state of a fever, right? You have a fever. Fever doesn't go anywhere. You don't deny that you have fever. You have fever. You have runny nose, for instance. And you do whatever you do in that state of being. So the same here. You don't need to become angry and upset. meaning you don't need to react to anger, but you need to allow the anger to be validated. Anger has its place. And then, of course, there is depression. And I spoke a lot about that as well. And depression is when you feel like the world has different colors. It's all gray, it's all unimportant. Nothing matters anymore, and you don't really care, and nobody really cares, and it's all like that. Wow, yeah, all kind of unimportant, unvibrant, etc., etc. So you say, yeah, I'm committed to validate that state of being, because I don't want to go into depression for the next 35 years. And people leave off their depression for the next 35 years because they initially did not accept it, validate it, and allow themselves to be depressed for a short period of time. That's how the mind processes the grief, whatever loss ever you experienced. And you say, yes, that's fine. Everything is going to be black and white today. Everything is going to not matter as much. I accept myself, I like myself, I love myself like that as much as I can. I will embrace myself even when I feel that. And that will slowly go away. As much as you give your all and your acceptance, you continue living, you continue functioning, and yes, it's all gray, and yes, it doesn't matter as it used to be, but you continue. And what you are eventually leaving the grief period should stay with like slight loneliness, which is normal, and slight sadness, and also which is normal, right? But the point of it is that whenever we lose someone, and there was a certain persona, as I said, there was a lot of your stuff pinned on it, and you got so excited over that person, collecting, integrating, reclaiming those parts of you, and you became much more expanded, much more developed. No matter how difficult the relationship you had in the past, remember yourself before and after, you're completely different. You could never go back to the before you met that person. It definitely changes us. It makes us more deeper. Yes, sometimes it goes through struggle and difficulties, and some relationship are really could be abusive or other heavy stuff, but you developed through it. You became different. It changed you, and it usually changes us to the good. And as I also like to say, sometimes losing a person develops us even more, and then gaining a person or receiving a person, because if you notice, you develop different relationship with the person once they're gone. If, let's say, you're blocked from each other, you cannot talk to each other, you're not even allowed by court, maybe in some cases, and you start creating your own images about that person, right? After you go through all those motions with grief stages, you right now dealing with a new persona that you created out of that person. And if somebody dies, your relationship becomes different than to those that you were interacting with day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour basis. So we create a new image, even about the deceased people. We create a new image and we interact with that new image, right? We create a new story, a new chapter. You are softer, you are loving, you are nicer, you are longing, you're there. There's no fights anymore, right? There's no arguments anymore. There's only like one way towards that image that you created for yourself, and you corresponding to that new persona that you're dealing with. That's also how our psychic is coping, creating something new and bounce against that, your emotions, whatever processes you go through. And that helps you to recover or recollect or become more healthier or more rested or more recovered human being. But really, there is nobody there, right? Unless you want to see that universe of that specific person or that specific soul that you were interacting with. All this, what I just expressed, when a person is alive or a person is in your life, like interacting with you as a husband or wife, or as a partner, or as a mother, or as a friend, then there is a lot of that exchange happening. Then you go through grief. That's how your mind is processing the loss. Then once you process the loss, or right towards the end, you create a new image, or even in the beginning, you create a new image of that, so to speak, made up person that you are sorry for, you regret, you love, you miss, you would like to connect, you would like to have interaction with, but it's also a continuation of you. It's other parts, more subtle, more maybe deeper parts of you that you're still collecting, you're still integrating. But when you decide that it's all you did not come close to actually feel that other person, and you have interest to see that other person, only interest could get you there. And you say, I reclaim all the projections that I have tendency to pin on people. I just want to hold on to them. I'm not looking for anything right now in specific pinning or interacting with another person. I just want to stay quiet. I'm not looking to become bigger or deeper or more known to myself about me. I just want to stay quiet and just want to see who that person is out of interest from themselves in their own world, and just let go. Don't try to understand it or right away interpret it or right away look for answers. The main goal here is never get too clingy. Because the minute you're clingy, that means you are compulsively looking for your place, because we're in deep desire to reclaim all our parts. That's mostly what we busy ourselves with here in this world. But when you just out of interest want to see another universe outside yours, and there's this emptiness first opens up. It's as if like there's this person that you saw what you saw in him or in her, and imagine as if there's like this window in him that means nothing, doesn't mean anything about him to you, and you just look there with your heart out of interest and stay quiet. And it will look a little bit uncomfortable because we're not used to that type of communication. And you say, I don't want to create any more personification of even a soul that was deceased, even an image of a person that was there at a different part of his life in front of me, very sick, almost dying, very vibrant, very happy. There was different parts there, right? And we so get attached to them and we get clingy to them, but really it's all about me, nothing about that person. And if we stay quiet and if we allow ourselves to look into that emptiness without any explanation, understanding, wanting to offer ideas, just feel what comes out from that emptiness. You'll begin to feel for the first time that person that you sometimes lived for a long time, considered yourself being in love, being connected with. In fact, it says in the first chapter of Bereshit, the interesting lashon is used about Adam getting close to Chava, right? When they were intimate. It says he knew her. And the word is das. Obviously, those that know that das is a deeper knowing of anything. There's a kind of superficial knowing and there's deeper knowing. And that deeper knowing means when you put down your projections and you just understand for who they are in their own world, from their own place, right? And that is a knowing. That is, I mean, it's translated as intimate connection, but it could be very, very intimate without a physical interaction. But it's true knowing when you are not exchanging projections. And the similar idea is with any deep relationship, just like your in-laws or your children that grow up. They're all separate universes. You have them around you because there's a huge you that wants to be grounded here in this physical world and be identified as this and that and known as this and that and all different variations, not only as one version, right? And we go and through those motions, and that also has to be done very wisely. When let's say there's something negative in the person that irritates you. I had an incident with my oldest daughter. She was in the park observing this caterpillar that was building a cocoon, and it was week after week, right? And then this one little boy, not so little, maybe 7-year-old, he just knocked it off randomly like that. And she's like, that really upset me. Like, he's not like a 2-year-old. Like, why did he do that? So I said the normal reaction to this would be interesting. I had to be right there in front of this whole thing. And that really triggered me. That means I have an element of that behavior in me that I'm not connected with. So I just want to hold that space, sit with it a little bit and say, thank you for letting me know that I have this element in me. I want to acknowledge it. I want to reclaim it. I have this like abrupt, heck with it all kind of like, I don't care about nature, or maybe I don't care enough about nature and like certain stuff, processes in nature. I'll just yank it over, right? So I have this in me, and it's part of me, and I'm so grateful for this boy for reflecting it. And right away, your relationship to that specific person changes. You open up something wider in you. And it's not to say, oh, like each time you see something negative, yes, we need to be containers of good and bad in us. We need to know we hold it as a part of this world. This world has good and bad. We are part of this world. We have this energy. Obviously, we need to utilize it and use it in a more mature way. But as a fact, we have those energies in us, more grounded, more groba kind of undeveloped, rough energies. We do have them, and we have to make peace with it. We have to accept it. We have to understand it. We have to welcome it back home. And once you hold it by hand, once it's yours, you are in charge. You could do whatever. It's just like energy. It could be directed in any form or shape, in any direction. So that is also a very insightful work. Even before you try to see another person's universe, from who they are and what they are about, not necessarily only exchanging projections, but this tendency wanting to build another image, even after you lost someone or after you separated for a lifetime and you have nothing to do with each other, wanting to make your other image, this could be extremely kind of challenging, right? To put it all down. There's no image anymore that you're interacting with, that you're playing with in your mind. There's nothing there anymore. This could be extremely challenging in order to move on to the next step. I hope I didn't confuse you. I hope this was interesting and it's insightful. I hope you took something for yourself. Please share if you did. And let me know if there's specific things you want me to develop in the next talks and to talk to you about in the next talks. But from the human part of me, 100%, I'm occasionally just like covered with this longing for Efraim, like wanting him near, wanting him be present, his energy, his vibrant energy. And I hold the space for myself, and I say it's okay to miss him from my human part, and it's okay to long for him, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to just stop doing anything and just remember one element. It's all good. And believe it or not, souls also go through that separations. Souls, when they are apart from here, they long and they rebel and they don't want to go to the ultimate kind of chambers where they belong. And their guides and angels that surround them have utmost patience. And they understand, especially souls that left early and had a lot to accomplish and want to stay and want to accomplish much more than they did. So it's absolutely natural process. We pin a lot of sadness to that process, but that process itself is maturing us, developing us, bringing us back home, making us more connected to ourselves. It's a very healing process when you just stop and allow yourself on your own to hold your own space of certain emotions that just come your way. I love you all. I hope that was interesting, and we'll talk.